So you're wondering how to take out tanks. Tanks are easily one of the most intimidating things, especially if you come across them out of the blue. However, here's a little short guide to help you out. First of all, there's two types of main armored vehicles. You have the Bradleys and then the Abrams. While both may be armored, both have different deals with what they are focused on. For example, the Bradley is more accustomed to fighting down infantry, to where the Abrams cannot combat infantry as well, but is meant for armored stuff. The reason this difference is distinct because this will tell you whether it's important to engage it up front or from the side. For example, the main battle tank, the Abrams, is heavily armored, but is not as brutal to attack. However, the Bradley is the very opposite. Very little armor, high mobility, but is also really strong against infantry, especially with its autocannon. So let's talk about your equipment. If you did not know, each tank has a different armor segment. However, all the tanks are susceptible from top-down attacks. So here's the deal. If you run across a tank straight up, there's multiple things you can do. If you know that a tank is on the attack, place down landmines and see if you can funnel it in, or maybe bait it in with some infantry tactics. But the most important part is, it's hard to take out a tank by yourself. Taking out a tank requires a coordinated effort, whether between your squad or some other engineers that are stepping up like you are. While it is possible to take out a tank by yourself, if there's engineers or well-coordinated infantry team around it, you're gonna need help. So before you start with your little ambush, look around and see if there's any assistance either from vehicles, helicopters, jets, or even other teammates around. Because trust me, even just the addition of one other engineer out there can help out. So let's actually get to what you have in the base kit. So the first rocket launcher you have basically fires a straight projectile, but once that projectile detects a tank or some sort of armored Vic, it will fly up, go forward, and go down, a top-down attack. However, keep in mind that smokes or any other countermeasures will destroy it. Landmines are ridiculously good at killing tanks. However, it requires the tank to drive over them, and you can't set them up too close. In most cases, landmines can two-hit any armored vehicle, which is pretty crazy. Place these landmines in spots you know tanks are going to go down. A lot of people like to go along roads or well-made paths rather than taking the hills or other off-road segments. And once a landmine gets a kill or a hit, move your sets of landmines to a different spot because they're going to start scanning for landmines. Plus, you can have 6 of these things out, which may not seem like a lot, but keep in mind it only takes 2 to take down a huge Vic. Then you have your grenade. These grenades I don't really care for, but I can acknowledge their use. These grenades can do about 150 each, I noticed, and these grenades you get 2 of them to start, and I think you can get a third one if you resupply. These grenades, you can throw them above a tank, then they'll parachute down like those little green army soldiers used to get at the arcade. And if you're really desperate, you can actually attack with the blowtorch. If you are close enough to a tank and get behind it, you can actually start blowtorching the tank, and it does a shit ton of damage, a lot more than it should. However, keep in mind, once the tank driver recognizes that they are getting attacked that close, they're gonna try to come around and mobilize by getting out of the Vic and trying to shoot you. Now, the most threatening thing for an engineer is actually not the tank itself, it's the Crow system. And having enough time in this Crow system, these things can be deadly. The Crow system is the big deterrent. That's what's going to be keeping an eye out for engineers to keep the tank or Bradley alive. And trust me, you need to be cautious of these things. No matter what variant it is, it's important to make sure you get behind it or try to avoid gaining the sightline of it. The big part I can say is just coordinate with other engineers. Really, yes, while it is possible for a single engineer to take out the tank, it helps a lot when you have even just another or a whole squad of them. A whole squad of them can be effective. If you and your buddies are wanting to do a tank annihilation squad, I would highly advise maybe having 2 engineers or 3 engineers and a support. That support can help resupply all you guys, and having 3 engineers can coordinate against not just only tanks, but also aircraft. Maybe another guide on aircraft because, oh my god, after doing 50 aircraft kills, I want to lose my mind. If you have any other questions about the armored Vics or how to take them down or maybe even how to use them, y'all are at me.